Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grid Dynamics Dynamic Talk. And today on our webinar, we're going to talk about the evolution of omni-channel digital commerce, what the trends are coming up this year and into the future. I am so excited and happy to be here with all of you, and I just really want to tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. My name is June Bauer, and I'm going to be hosting the webinar today, and I'm especially excited because we have an amazing group of panelists today. I think you're going to be really thrilled to hear what they have to say, and we're going to have a discussion today with our panelists, but I want to welcome all of you who've joined us today to be a part of that discussion. So please feel free to enter questions either in the Q&A box on the bottom or in the chat, and at any time you can enter them. If it makes sense, we'll ask the question during the webinar, and we may just hold some of them for the end, but we really appreciate getting your feedback, your thoughts, and your questions. So don't hold back. Let us know what you're thinking. We will have that discussion, then we'll get your Q&A. And as I said, enter those questions at any time. All right, let's go to the next slide, Alex. So I want to take a minute to introduce our panel, and I'd like to ask each of them if they wouldn't mind just giving us a summary of their background. So Logan, can we start with you?
Absolutely, June. I'm really excited to be here today with you all. My name is Logan Vadevelu. I'm a global lead at Google Cloud, leading retail industry solution strategy and go-to-market. Again, very excited to be here with the other panelists and looking forward to this session.
Fantastic. Well, we're so happy you could join, Logan. Prabhu, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Prabhu. I'm the Director of Analytics Strategy and Capabilities at Ashley. We are rebranding ourselves as a company. So previously Ashley Furniture, now Ashley, expanding the product portfolio. I work on the e-commerce, especially increasing the market share for US home furnishing. So work with all the teams internally to develop strategy and make sure that capabilities are met.
Fantastic, Prabhu. So happy you could join. And it's so great to have a retailer, somebody who has to face these challenges head on, joining us today. So thank you. And finally, Eugene Steinberg. Eugene, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Happy to be here. My name is Eugene Steinberg. I am a technical fellow and head of digital commerce at Grid Dynamics. Spent about 12 to 13 years in the field, and happy to meet you guys here and to talk about some of our experience while implementing digital commerce projects.
Fantastic. All right. Well, glad to have you, Eugene. And this should be a really interesting discussion. But before we turn to our panelists, we want to get your thoughts. So for you, our audience, we have a couple polls that we'd like you to participate in. We do these polls not to make your life difficult, but really to help us to manage this webinar so that we can cover topics that you care most about. So if you wouldn't mind, we just have two quick ones. And on this one, choose all of the answers that apply to you. But the question is, when it comes to omnichannel in 2022, my company is putting a strong focus on, and now just go ahead and click whichever boxes your company is focusing on, and we'll take a look at the answers in just a minute. Ooh, looks like we have kind of a close running on most of these. So adding channels doesn't look like there's a whole lot there. I mean, 35%, but it looks like we've got a lot of people working on their data, for sure. That looks like it's the number one, but we've got a lot of people optimizing channels, becoming more competitive, even improving product delivery. And interesting, I'll tell you, when I was putting these together, I thought the product delivery one might be the lowest one, but I have been proven wrong here. So this is really helpful. Thank you for sharing this. Let's go to the second poll. This one's just a little bit more for fun. Get your thoughts on what you're thinking about for the future. So when it comes to the metaverse, my company is, and now we just want you to choose one of these. So choose the one answer that makes the most sense to you. Working on projects related to the metaverse, starting to think about what it means to us, taking a wait and see approach, or has bigger, more near-term opportunities or challenges right now. So let us know what you think about the metaverse. Click one of these. Okay, Alex, how about showing us where we're at? I don't know. I wonder if any of you are surprised by this. I'm personally not surprised by this. I think that, you know, at least half of you are focused, and maybe, well, let's just say 64% of you are kind of just waiting and seeing, or not even thinking about it right now. Some of you are starting to work on projects though. And actually, I would say more than I might have expected. So 35% are starting to really think about it. I don't think it's a bad idea. And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen a lot of videos out there now of companies starting to kind of show what they think the future might look like for shopping. So even if you aren't ready to work on this, you can kind of keep an eye on some of those videos and see what others are thinking, and it might inform you, because I think we may find some companies are going to go in big early, and it could create some competitive advantage. But we'll talk about that today. And I really appreciate all of you giving us your feedback. I think that's going to help us very much. So I think it's time to get started with our discussion. So if you can, Alex, take us out of the presentation and into the panel version, that would be, oh, that's fantastic. I love it. All right, so panelists, if I call your name to speak on a question, make sure you come off mute and we'll get started. So I have a big question, and I want to pose it to really all of you to start. But the question is, how has omnichannel digital commerce really evolved? And what do digital commerce companies need to do to stay ahead of the competition in 2022? And I think this is important because in the poll, people said a lot of people were trying to stay ahead of the competition. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And also if you might want to comment on how it's different from previous years. I know we're still in the pandemic, and that's really kind of put e-commerce on hyperdrive. So would love your thoughts on that too. And Logan, I thought we could kick it off with you.
Sure, Joan. This is really a great question, because this is kind of top priority for most, if not all, retailers. And I want to provide some context before I get into how this is evolving, etc. Shopping has always been about availability and convenience, and modern consumers demand an experience-driven shopping. To support that, retailers really evolved digital commerce from a transactional to experiential platform, because consumers look for the same consistent experience both in online and in-store shopping. And as the pandemic progressed, omnichannel has become the new normal, as we witnessed all across the retail and other industries as well, with the rapid growth of BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store or curbside. And it continues to be popular among consumers, as we are not out of the woods when it comes to the pandemic. And omnichannel has really become a new normal for retailers, with increasing focus on how they meet consumer needs. Given my role at Google Cloud for strategy, I always look for data points to think about the trends, so we can make some meaningful data-driven decisions. So a Google study found that about a good omnichannel strategy is able to drive about 80% of kind of incremental store visits. And this is where the role of omnichannel become critical, no matter whether you are a largely brick and mortar or other spectrum, a pure play. Now let's look at some of the trends we are seeing, and especially with the omnichannel evolving to address a need. So you will see more disruptive technologies are becoming available to influence the overall journey, such as providing this augmented reality virtual try-on in fashion and apparel, and door delivery in grocery. Conversation or voice commerce is opening up new possibilities to improve the user engagement, shopping experience, and higher conversion of sales as well as customer loyalty. So the retailers continue to look for new ways for them to introduce these experiences across omnichannel to attract millennial and Gen Z shoppers and improve the conversion. So we will start seeing more and more becoming new normal. And again, omnichannel is the new growth engine for retailers, and that's going to be the major part of their strategy going forward. Interested to hear others' perspective as well.
That's great, Logan. Thanks for sharing. And I mean, who does not love a great TikTok influencer video? By the way, a new and fast growing channel. As you're talking about that, I was thinking about that. I think that's fantastic. So Prabhu, can you share your thoughts on where we're going in 2022?
Yeah, it was good to hear Logan's point of view, and I like to add my thoughts, my perspective from more a retail side, like how and what's happening, like what I see. The first thing that we are trying to keep is a good pulse of the customer, what their sentiment is, what their expectations are, and how it has changed with everything that's been going on, disruptions it has caused. So it's to keep that and be able to be nimble and offer those capabilities quickly to make sure that we're able to keep up with their requirements and needs, make it easier for them, and also to drive the business. And especially in the furniture, like if you see, ours is more driven by in-store experience. A lot of showroom experience has to be had. And so the quickly company has to put together, so they decided they'll go the virtual designer route. So it gives the comfort of being in your house, not being able to like go to the store, design everything and have someone also assist you in addition to just viewing it yourself. And then use that experience to either like go ahead and make the purchase online or go to the store and then complete that. So you have both that digital and the store coming together to be able to do that. And as Logan touched, the companies like Google, Amazon, Netflix, they said they are like too far ahead in the experience, the digital experience. And all other companies now are trying to emulate all the experience that the customers are looking for. And it's so ultimately, like we are doing those studies just to understand all the different customer segments to be able to cater to their needs and develop and deliver those capabilities.
Prabhu, I loved what you said when you said we try to keep a pulse on the customer. I'm just curious, you mentioned you do studies. You also have this unique advantage in that you do have bricks and mortar stores, so you can see what customers do there. But is there anything else that you do to keep a pulse? For example, do you look at user online behavior, or is there anything else?
Yeah, that's a good one. So like we did like, where are the customers coming from? How has it shifted in the past 2 years? Even in digital, if we see like which channels are they coming from, which platforms are they shopping, like we just used to purely look at it and which converts more. So based on that, the content, the capabilities, and experience are built to cater to those needs.
I think that's incredibly smart. I love that. Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And Eugene, let's turn to you and get your thoughts as an e-commerce expert and seeing this across many, many companies as part of Grid Dynamics. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, thank you, guys. Very interesting points, and rightly so. Well, if you think about what really changed in the last year from a previous, of course, in the beginning of the pandemic, the retail and digital, like everybody was in a state of knockout for some time. And it was a real disruption for many customers. And over this tough period of lockdowns and like restrictions, we all witnessed a global demo of what digital commerce and internet shopping can do for us, and how quite literally digital commerce is able to deliver on the global scale of pretty much almost all our needs, including even furniture. And and many people who never kind of considered using digital commerce were forced to do that, and they saw that this is good and this is working and they really can do it. And the level of adoption of digital commerce became much wider in the among the people who never kind of considered that before. But that put a lot of stress on the companies to really change their business models, to really adopt to this change in the customer behavior. Like companies like, for example, companies like Nike and American Eagle, they had to immediately shift their sales channels from in-store to online. And that required, for example, making an offline inventory available for online purchase. And that created a lot of strain of technology because all those systems were separated across the channels. And now like you have to provide a view of inventory across digital channels as well. Huge undertaking. And they managed to pull it off in a very, very short time frame. Another great example is Neiman Marcus. This is a luxury brand. All their sales, majority of their sales are connected to real people, stylists who are working with their very kind of distinguished and VIP customers and working with them in stores, helping them, like providing the boutique-like experience. And all of a sudden, all this was cut off, and the sales associates could not talk and interact with their clientele. And what Neiman Marcus did is that extremely quickly they had to kind of pivot and provide something which we call Neiman Marcus Connect, which is a special application for sales associates to digitally connect to their customers, because like we have a whole portfolio of recurring customers who we sell to. And they integrated with Twilio, with MS Teams to create all those virtual appointments, and they connected to the catalog, to inventory systems to make a purchase from this application. So this application really enabled them to very fast recover from this lockdown situation and shift their sales to the digital from stores. And it was so successful that they immediately started to kind of unroll it to other major brands, like which is under the umbrella, like Goodman, Hot Show, Last Call, and currently it's like a major program, even when customers started to return to the stores. So overall, which means that like in current situation, the change is a new constant, and whoever is better ready to the change has the flexible IT systems, flexible technology, which allows to quickly roll out a new business experiences without disrupting the major operations, is getting ahead in the competition. So that's what we see.
That's a really interesting challenge for companies, and being able to have that agility and flexibility is going to be really important, it sounds like, into the future. Eugene, why don't we just keep talking to you here for a minute, because you kind of started to bring up some challenges, and I'm wondering, I love what you all talked about, and you're helping me see what the future can be and what it maybe is already becoming for some companies, but it's not going to necessarily be easy to make these things happen. And Eugene, I'm interested from you, and what do you see as some of the challenges this year for companies?
It's not only this year, but this year probably it will become even more emphasized. Again, like the main theme of this year is adoption to change. Like how fast, how flexible are your systems to be able to withstand the stress of the change. And we all know that there is like a Conway law, which says that any architecture in the organization follows the organizational structure. And we see a lot of situations when people are trying to make a very significant changes in their architecture without really changing the organizational structure. And that leads to a lot of problems with technologies which ideally have to span different silos and organizations, but we are confined inside those silos and organizations, and we are ending up looking at 5 different VPs who each of them have its own data lake, which everybody believes is the only data lake which has to survive in the organization, or everybody has their own search system, or everybody has their own order management system. And of course, it's very hard to penetrate the silos and build a really omni-channel global view of the organizational data and processes and operations without kind of breaking those silos and really kind of assembling people together in a much more kind of cross-functional way. So this is like one of the anti-patterns which we see very prominently in many places. And of course, in many other problems are just the problem of knowledge management. There are many components which have to be modernized, and nobody even knows how they work, and there is no documentation. And even though everybody understands the functionality of these components very well, nobody understands it in enough details to really properly understand and estimate the complexity of modernization. And but modernization is necessary, and that always creates additional efforts on reverse engineering these components, recreating this functionality, or modernizing this functionality. So this is like another problem. And finally, from what we see, like, yeah, I just had a talk with one of our architects earlier this day, and he pointed me to another problem which he sees all the time, is that security is always pushed to the second phase. People are so eager to drive new experience in front of the customers that they very often try to bolt on security concerns later, and they always push to the like sometimes or often push to the second phase of engagement, which always leads to very, very scary things which may happen, especially with the major brands. So because sometimes second phases never come, or sometimes second phases get delayed. So when your new brand beautiful experience comes out of the experimentation without security, it's always a challenge. So those are 3 things which are on the top of my head in terms of the challenges.
Well, those are great. I mean, those are great things to think about. And yeah, I mean, who can get excited about security? I can't.
Nobody's excited about security until something that happens.
I'm sorry to say no, but let's thank you for sharing that. And let's now turn to Prabhu, because you are in the midst of this, actually trying to make this stuff happen. What are the challenges you're seeing in your own organization?
Yeah, I see it. It's a rebalancing that the company has to do at 3 different areas. One is, I say the first one is mind and machine. What I mean that is like what things has to change from people doing it versus machines and computers doing it. That's one area we are trying to find the right balance between that, and also changing as things happen. And then the second is the product and platform. When we introduce new feature, is that going to be a standalone, or how do we include that in the overall platform of the ecosystem that we developed for Ashley as a brand? And it's finding like where that fits and how to change it based on the change. Like what we did 2019 is different from what we are doing currently. And then looking at the next 6 months, that dial has to be changed. And the third area where we are looking at it is the difference, like how to engage the core and the crowd. By that, what decisions should be taken or driven by the team inside the company, like pricing strategies or things to develop, and what should we rely on the customers. So that's what the opportunities that comes from the crowd. So listening outside, it is finding the right balance of these 3 dials is going to be the challenge, not just for Ashley, for any company. And how do we evolve and keep changing, fine-tuning it as we move along?
Yeah, so, those are great. I love them, and they're real problems. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who can relate to that. Anything else you want to add, or?
I'd say like in top of that, and Eugene already hit the challenge as architecture is changing, process changing. What we don't see is someone like who has an end-to-end view, like an enterprise architects. And I've seen like, some companies really have those roles to be able to challenge what's happening and how to make sure they keep up with everything that is challenged so that change management happens right. And when you see like 10 teams, if they have to do some work together, if not all are aligned, then that's going to cause disruption and confusion. So it's to make sure that everyone is aligned, so that enterprise architect is going to help with that also.
Yeah, great points. I love them. Very pragmatic, I think very helpful. So I love those challenges. I want to turn now to trends in the less glamorous but highly important area of what is going to be happening with technologies and architectures. What are people going to be, should they be thinking about for the future in terms of that fundamental foundation that, let's go back to what Eugene said about how do you architect a system so that it is not able to, it can give you what you want today, but it's also set up so that it can adapt to change and give you what you're going to need in the future. And Logan, you've been waiting so patiently. Let's hear from you first on that one.
That's again a very great question here, because as I heard from Eugene and Prabhu, it's the foundation you have, and then you keep extending that foundation to support emerging use cases and introducing new customer experience. What we see recently is the headless commerce, or what the industry typically calls MOC. It stands for microservices, API first, cloud native, and headless. It's a mouthful, but it really offers agility, flexibility, and speed to market. Let's kind of unravel what really it means. It's really about decoupling the front end and back end, which allows retailers and even consumer goods who are looking into going online be able to launch new experiences quickly, new experiences that are focused on customer engagement, shopping journey, driving conversion, etc. Allows them to quickly launch those experiences as well as tweak existing experiences as they see and learn consumer responses. That's a major benefit from this decoupling. And it also comes with a plug and play architecture where it's not a rip and replace. Customers are tired of every 5-10 years replacing a system and deal with all the change management that Prabhu highlighted earlier. The plug and play allows you to kind of leverage homegrown capabilities, as well as some of the new age SaaS services, so that you come up with a modern solution platform. And finally, that allows them to kind of take advantage of new age startups that offer advanced headless CMS, like content management system, digital experiences, and product discovery, etc. So they are able to infuse advanced AI, ML, and data-driven approaches. So the overall benefit is you have that a digital foundation that gives you hooks to add these new capabilities easily. That's where we see retailers, consumer goods, and the pandemic has actually pushed every industry to offer some online presence to meet their consumer needs. That's where we see major trend these days.
Yeah, and it's really not a surprise, because when you're being pushed by competition, you're being pushed by possibilities and your vision of what you can see the future being. You want to start changing quickly. And also, I love Prabhu's comment earlier. It's you also, if you're staying on top of consumer trends, you want to adapt to what your consumers want. And so the architecture, I think, has become increasingly more important. And I think what's going on with architecture, I think is actually beautiful, because it gives you the ability, like you said, to stay on top of the cool new pieces and changes that are coming up without having to re-architect your entire system.
Yeah.
So I love this. So Eugene, you are, I know, a pro at architectures, and you see a lot of companies and what they're doing to build that foundation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where this is going.
Yes, thank you, June. And yeah, I really kind of support everything which Logan said about the headless commerce. In my company, people are mocking me like a head of headless commerce. So, and in this sense, if you talk about architecture, like why do we need architecture to start with, right? Why would we need to all those kind of complexities of separating things into layers, of kind of enforcing that somebody can talk to somebody and somebody cannot talk to somebody? The only reason why we need to do all this complexity is because we want to be able to isolate changes. And without changes, we don't need architecture. Like spaghetti code is totally fine if nobody will change it. And that's why we, and as speed of change is increasing currently in the business, we continue to see that monolithic architecture are really straining to support this kind of change. Getting back to the same example of Neiman Marcus and their Connect application, it will be impossible to roll out this Connect application in a few months just without previous investments into building a microservices-driven, API-driven architecture. So with this new application, which nobody thought about and nobody even envisioned a few months before, could connect to all those APIs, talk to search systems, talk to inventory systems, talk to order placement systems, and connect all those dots in a composable way, so that the new experience can be unrolled so quickly to the customers. So we continue to see a lot of efforts of strangling the monolith. Like this is the pattern which usually means that we are kind of gradually reducing the responsibilities of monolithic architecture up to the point when we can kill it. And of course, as Logan said, there is so many so interesting new startups who are coming with a shiny new toys, and business really wants to try them. And but how to bolt this new experience to our monolith? Like there is no APIs to connect to, there is no message bus to read data from. It's very hard, and the projects to integrate yet another kind of startup promotion service, for example, takes months to implement. Just because we have to dig all the tunnels and get the data out and get the APIs in. And this becomes increasingly challenging with monolithic architectures. So what we see right now is that customers are in build versus buy decision are very interested in the buy options and want to have flexibility to buy best-in-class systems from the market. But at the same time, for the things which really matter, we want to build stuff to have very customizable things and to really differentiate in a strategic things which really matter for a particular business. So this combination of build and buy is very interesting right now, and composable architectures are enabling this choice. So that's what we see is happening right now with our customers.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of exciting things going on in the back end. Yeah, it is definitely changing, but it's changing so that companies can change and change faster and be competitive. So I think that's really very exciting for me as someone who loves technology. So speaking of technology, I want to turn to another question. And it's really about what AI is doing for commerce. I mean, there's so many cool things out now, like semantic search. We're still figuring out how to make recommendations more valuable, more meaningful to people, visual search, product discovery, so many other areas where AI can make the experience so much more relevant and personal to people. And I'd really love to get your thoughts on these. So Logan, can I turn back to you on that one?
Sure, June. I think I want to quickly comment. I know your topic is more omni-channel and experiences, but because of the recent supply chain disruptions, thanks to the pandemic, AI is being applied not only in experiences, shopping, but also in the whole supply chain area, predicting demand, forecasting, and keeping the right inventory at the right places, so that, because end of the day, the experience is influenced by item being available, whether you go online or still omnichannel is the new growth engine, as we mentioned. What we see from our vantage point is this advanced AI ML and data-driven approaches are being used to influence both areas, the whole product discovery in an omnichannel context, as well as kind of the demand forecasting and inventory placement, inventory optimization. On the experience side, this is where product discovery solutions like retail search, you mentioned semantic search, etc., as well as product recommendations are critical for retailers. I love to use data and to emphasize the importance of the problem we are talking about, and then how those data points will help retailers. At the height of the pandemic, Google search trends showed that people were searching for in stock nearby, because they were more concerned about item being available, as well as be able to buy from a local store versus waiting for that to be delivered with all the supply chain disruptions. That type of search increased 800%. And that type of insights really help retailers on inventory positioning. Where do they want to keep the inventory? A lot of times inventory may be stuck in your warehouses, but not be able to deliver to your consumers in the right time. A lot of times that makes make or break when it comes to how you serve customers, how you kind of win their loyalty. A study by Harris Poll indicated that 77% of consumers said a good search that offers relevant results is absolutely essential for them in order to have that shopping experience. And it also talked about how 74% of the survey participants said a bad experience on any given day on a retailer's site will push them away. They will never come back. And then in terms of put a number on this problem is, in the US alone, retailers lose over 300 billion from kind of what the industry calls search abandonment. Somebody's trying to search, not able to find an item, they give away and go to a competitor's site. So this kind of clearly highlights it's a huge problem for retailers. That's where they're investing in data-driven approaches, advanced AI ML for product discovery. They are infusing AI ML from a learning to serve, as well as you mentioned, the semantic search. So how you can use product attributes for semantic search, visual product search, especially millennial, Gen Z or shoppers are looking for easy to find based on a product image. Maybe their friend or family member purchased something. Bringing in product recommendations, promotion optimization, etc. So these are the areas where AI ML is being applied, as well as in the whole supply chain area I mentioned, because at the end of the day, I can find the item, but if I can't find when it will be delivered to me, I'm not going to complete that transaction as a consumer.
I love that. And I think that's where the value of looking at things from your customer's perspective can really change your perspective on your priorities. And I think that's really well said. I mean, it was great to hear from you on this too, because there's no company better at search than Google. So hearing how you translate that into what a retail search is gonna need and what the requirements are was really helpful. So thanks for sharing that.
June, in fact, we offered these Google search trends to all the customers. It's available so that they can take the data, use it to kind of, their solutions.
Yeah, that's great. That is so fantastic. That's a great tool. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so Eugene, how about you? What are your thoughts around this?
Yes, I see the same and similar trends. But one thing which we see really with our customers is that over the last few years, customers really invested into starting to accumulate data. And artificial intelligence, machine learning, like it's not magic. It requires data. It's technology. It requires data as a fuel. And as soon as you accumulated a critical mass of data, your models, your prediction analytics start producing more and more meaningful results and start to converge to something which really brings value to business. And we see a lot of search in the projects around price optimization, promotion optimization, and supply chain optimization, not because the models became 10 times better over last year, but because customers accumulated yet another couple of years of data on the behavior of their customers. And those models started to produce much more accurate results and start to be much more valuable in making business decisions. This is like from the back office of digital commerce. We see a proliferation of the projects around the predictive analytic, demand prediction, price optimization, supply chain. At the same time, from the top of the funnel, from the marketing and engagement system standpoint, we see a lot of interest into providing a new, delightful, and engaging, entertaining even experiences to the customers, which are powered by the artificial intelligence, computer vision, natural language processing experiences, which are made possible because of the great work of the technology companies. First of all, of course, Google and Facebook and OpenMind are all doing and open sourcing amazing models which can understand language, can understand images, videos, and can be trained by experienced data scientists or retrained to a specific domain and specific problem and used to crack the problems of item identification. We have one of the customer who is able to recognize, we built them a system to recognize dinnerware and glassware based on the picture, which was a huge problem for their customers and took days for their specialists to find exactly what their customers were looking for. And latest advancement in natural language processing are also very impressive and push the boundaries of what semantic search can do. And product search is being redefined right now with a completely different set of technologies based on DSSM and extreme classification models, which are currently going into mainstream, and a lot of customers experimenting with them and really kind of putting those models in front of consumers and experimenting with them. So a lot of exciting things are happening, and artificial intelligence with a lot of data accumulated by our customers started to really play a prominent role in the both backend systems and customer engagement systems. So that's what we see.
Yeah, I think that is so interesting and exciting. And actually, an example came to mind for me, which is there's a company called Unique that builds digital humans, and Deutsche Telekom recently created their own digital human, put it on their site so that people can come and talk to the digital human to figure out what phone plan is best for them, because we all know how incredibly confusing that experience is and how unhelpful their websites are. And so they added this digital human to their site. So using natural language processing and using AI and building this person that seems like a person, but is actually something that lets this be a very scalable and personal experience for people where they can actually have a conversation there and figure out. And I think they've seen their sales go up something like 33% from adding the digital human. It's a huge uplift. So a beautiful way to combine all these things together to really change the shopping experience. I love it. And especially for a phone company to be so radical and looking at things differently, very impressive. All right, well, let's turn to a different topic now, which is another really interesting area for a lot of us, which is how you can bring together the in-store experience and the online experience and what are the trends going on there. And Prabhu, we're very lucky to have you here to to talk about it from the experience of a retailer who faces that opportunity.
Yeah, I want to start off like that. It's an interesting topic and much needed. And we heard, I don't remember it was Logan or Eugene that mentioned expanding the channels, and even in the poll, that's one thing that Ashley is really doing. We are expanding the number of channels that we are able to engage and provide experience to the customers. Example of that, I would say, even in the store, we are coming up with like new concept stores. Instead of showroom stores, like where you'd be able to take items with you, ready to assemble items that you'd be able to do it, and other experiences. So there is an aggressive plan in expanding other channels to engage. And pure play companies like Wayfair are expanding retail store footprint there. And so one is expanding the number of channels to be able to do, and once you are able to do it, how connected can you get the channels to work together? And what we have a team that's working on the data, and how is online experience driving in-store traffic and the conversion of that. And the team is really helping to understand and create those fulfillment opportunities that are there. Mixed bag opportunities that's there. Start the experience, do as much as you can, and then complete that in the next channel. So by that, like there are investments that are made and getting that to the customer out also. So that's being done in bringing the store and the online experience closer together, and be able to do that also. And what I would be excited to see in the near future is like using those AI in those areas to connect them together. We are currently evaluating, like nothing has been done, but I heard like Walmart is working on this metaverse shopping, and I'm excited to get that into the Ashley experience to connect them both, so that like if you're shopping with family across the country, you'd be able to do that, one from a digital, one from at home, and bring that together. That's the trend that I see that's going to happen, and that's already happening in some areas.
Yeah, I love that. Those are exciting ideas. And I don't know if any of you have seen it's circulating now on YouTube. I think there is a Walmart metaverse video that you can go Google, and you can see what their vision is for the future of the metaverse. And, while it's just a beginning, it's, in my opinion, it's worth looking at. It's pretty exciting to see where this can go based on all of these cool new technologies that are coming out. And I think also customers being listened to by all of you who are in the e-commerce or retail business. So I think that's fantastic. Well, I know a lot of you on the survey we did today, the poll, said that you were interested in delivery and fulfillment. So I want to turn to that next. And Logan, ask you talked about supply chain earlier. I thought that was incredibly interesting. Is there anything you can add that you think is going to be a trend or the future around delivery and fulfillment?
Absolutely. I think there is so much focus on the top of the funnel experience, getting the customer to, make the purchase. But the customer experience or customer satisfaction doesn't stop with having a kind of great shopping experience in an omnichannel environment. It really extends to providing similar consistent experience with delivery, and in some cases returns too. Returns has become a, unfortunately, unavoidable part of the shopping journey. And a retailer providing that end-to-end experience is what matters for modern consumers who demand this, same day or 2-day delivery. And they demand real-time visibility to kind of shipment tracking and delivery window. And it even goes beyond that into, delivering safely into my house, into my garage, to avoid, theft, as well as this pandemic concern of somebody inadvertently contacting the item after it's left at my doorway. So a lot of these things are coming and shaping the overall kind of supply chain experience. And retailers are hyper focused on how they can provide these experiences. For instance, they started looking into investing into kind of route optimization, and then entirely, looking at how effectively, cost effectively, time effectively I can fulfill even an online order. So fulfillment until the pandemic was siloed. Online orders handled separately versus in-store purchases. The pandemic changed the whole thing. Now it's truly looked at from omnichannel, regardless of where the order is coming from, what channel the order is coming from, how best we can fulfill that delivery in a cost and time sensitive way. Because that's where the competitive differentiation comes in, customer loyalty comes in. There are new age startups that are getting into some of the automations in fulfillment and in delivery center, all the way to kind of last mile delivery. We keep hearing about self-driving vehicles, and I think Walmart is experimenting that, and few others as well. So how we can automate and take the guesswork out of the entire experience so that you are optimizing based on kind of data and experiences. So you will start seeing more and more happening in the space where they're looking at more holistically. I need to be able to understand the demand, predict it, and position inventory in the right places. Again, we saw newer trends such as stores turning into kind of dark stores, where it's not really for walking in and buying item, but more serving as a fulfillment hub. Even groceries started creating mini fulfillment hubs in major cities to serve some of the fresh items more quickly, more cost effectively. So there are a lot of things going on here. Innovations such as this self-driving vehicles I talked about, also delivery logs, as well as self-serve pickup. Regardless of the size for the retailer, you don't have to be a Walmart or Target to be thinking about these things. In order for you to differentiate and win consumer business and loyalty, you need to be thinking about end to end, from the top of the funnel, how you help them find the items, making that purchase seamless, and having that delivery experience all the way to safely, securely receiving the item into their home. That is going to be the holy grail for supply chain fulfillment. And retailers are also investing into kind of digital twin of their supply chain. Supply chain until the pandemic was kind of a ignored child. I don't know if it's the right word to use here. And whereas the pandemic completely changed that, and supply chain is part of the overall omnichannel strategy.
Yeah, agree.
Right.
Agree.
And that's where investments are going in.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. That is so well put. Very, very well put. And yeah, looking at the whole experience is extremely important. We are unfortunately running out of time, and I want to there's one audience question that I think is a really good one that we can end with, and it's for Prabhu, and it's specifically when you were talking before about the in-store and the online. How important for Ashley is it to integrate legacy point of sale or POS store system with e-commerce microservices to implement a true omni-channel experience? I think that's a great question. You have any thoughts on that?
Yes, we have a current initiative that is going as we are talking, like we have piloted and started rolling it out. All the stores are getting in this cloud enable new point of sale. So that way we are able to better connect both the store and online in one platform to be able to do that. So that's coming this year. It's underway. It'll be completed before end of the year.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
That's a big project, and that's going to be, I think, super valuable to your organization. So that sounds very exciting. Well, I think
I just want to make one point.
Sure.
There's also we have buy online, pick up in warehouse. That has become a lot more in the recent past. especially for us, that's gaining a lot more traction and customer requirement needs.
Yeah, that's great. Love it. Love it. We are unfortunately running out of time. I mean, this has gone so very quickly, and I know I've learned a lot. I hope you, our audience, have as well, and have enjoyed our speakers. Eugene, and Prabhu, and Logan, you gave us some fantastic examples and stories. It was going to fuel my thinking for the next few weeks, I'm sure. So I really appreciate all of your feedback and joining us today. And I want to also thank our amazing audience. Thank you all for coming and spending time with us. I want to thank Grid Dynamics for hosting this, and I really hope to see you all back soon for our next webinar. Please go off and have a great day, and thanks again for being a part of this wonderful discussion. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.